He was kicked out and took only one cow, but destiny had something great in store for him. Marcus Taylor gripped the makeshift rope tying his cow as tears streamed down his dirt-streaked face. At 12 years old, everything he knew as home had vanished in a single night of shouting and accusations that still echoed in his ears. "Get out of here, brat! I won't support another man's son any longer." His stepfather's words still burned in his mind as he walked down the dirt road. Robert Anderson had discovered something about his true parentage and decided Marcus was no longer welcome at home. The boy looked back one last time, watching the silhouette of the simple house where he had lived for years fade into the darkness. His stepmother, Dorothy, had stood silently in the doorway, just watching the scene without saying a word. Marcus couldn't understand why she hadn't intervened. She had always been affectionate toward him, but that night she had remained mute as a statue. "Come on, Hope," he murmured to the cow, who walked docilely beside him. It was the only name he had managed to give the animal when he found it abandoned on the road 3 years earlier. At that moment, choosing that name seemed like an irony of fate. The dawn was cold and damp, typical of the rural Kentucky region where he had grown up. Marcus pulled at the long-sleeved shirt that was too big for his thin body, trying to warm himself. The cow mooed softly, as if understanding the boy's suffering. It was a peculiar animal, with light fur and large, expressive eyes that seemed to comprehend everything around it. After 2 hours of walking, Marcus spotted an abandoned shed on the outskirts of the small town of St. Benedict Valley. The place had been empty for years, ever since the former owner had moved to the capital. It was the shelter he needed at that moment. The boy tied Hope to a wooden post and lay down on some old feed bags he found there. Sleep didn't come easily. His stepfather's words repeated in his mind, another man's son. But who would his real father be? Marcus had always believed Robert Anderson was his biological father, despite all the coldness he showed. Now, everything made more sense. The distance, the constant irritation, the sarcastic comments about his appearance. When the sun rose, Marcus went to fetch water from the well near the shed. It was then that he noticed something different about Hope. The cow was restless, mooing strangely, as if trying to communicate something important. Marcus approached and noticed that her udders were swollen. She was producing milk, something that had never happened before. With trembling hands, Marcus grabbed an old can he found in the shed and began to milk the cow. The milk that came out was whiter and creamier than anything he had ever seen. The smell was sweet and pure. Marcus tasted a small amount and was amazed by its exceptional quality. It was as if Hope had transformed overnight. In the following days, Marcus established a basic routine. Early in the morning, he would milk Hope and walk to the central square of St. Benedict Valley to try to sell the milk. The first attempts were disastrous. People looked suspiciously at the dirty, poorly dressed boy, doubting the quality of the product he offered. "Where is this milk from, boy?" asked Mrs. Eleanor, an elderly lady who ran a small dairy cooperative in town. "It's from my cow, ma'am. She produces very good milk," replied Marcus, extending the can for her to taste. Eleanor Roberts looked the boy up and down with suspicion. She had worked with dairy products her whole life and knew how to identify quality. But that ragged boy didn't inspire confidence. Still, something in his sincere eyes made her agree to taste the milk. Eleanor's expression changed instantly. The flavor was exceptional, better than anything she had ever tasted in her 65 years of life. The creaminess and natural sweetness were unique. She looked at Marcus with a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Where are you from, boy? I've never seen you around here," asked Eleanor, now in a gentler tone. "I used to live with my family in the countryside, but—" Marcus hesitated. He didn't know how to explain his situation without sounding like he was asking for pity. "Now I'm taking care of my cow alone." Eleanor sensed there was more to the story behind those words, but decided not to press further. There was something special about that boy, and especially about the milk he had brought. Her experience told her that such quality wasn't common. "How many liters does your cow produce per day?" asked Eleanor. "About 15 liters, ma'am, but she just started producing a few days ago." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. Eleanor's cooperative was going through financial difficulties. Competition with the big dairies in the region had significantly reduced her profits, and she was considering closing the business she had maintained for over 20 years. But the exceptional quality of Marcus's milk could be the solution she needed. "Boy, where are you living now?" asked Eleanor, concerned. Marcus averted his gaze, embarrassed. He didn't want to admit that he was living in an abandoned shed, but he also couldn't lie to this lady who had been the first person to treat him with kindness since he left home. "In a temporary place," he replied evasively. Eleanor understood the situation without needing more details. She had raised 3 children alone after being widowed young and recognized the look of someone in hardship. Her first reaction was to offer help, but her life experience warned her to be cautious. She didn't know the boy's full story. "Look, Marcus, is that really your name?" She waited for him to confirm with a nod. "I have a proposal. This milk is exceptional, better than anything I've ever seen. If you want, you can use a space in the back of the cooperative to take care of your cow. In return, I'll buy all the milk she produces at a fair price." Marcus felt a wave of relief wash over his body. It was the first good news since he had left home. Eleanor seemed trustworthy, and the cooperative would be a much better place than the abandoned shed to care for Hope. "Would you really do that?" asked Marcus, still incredulous. "But there are conditions. You'll have to keep the cow clean and healthy at all times. I'll arrange for Dr. William, our veterinarian, to examine her first, and you'll have to tell me the truth about your situation. I can't help someone without knowing what I'm getting into." The agreement was sealed with a handshake, but Marcus still hesitated to tell the whole truth about being kicked out of home. He was afraid that Eleanor would change her mind if she found out he had no family to turn to. The next day, Dr. William Harrison arrived at the cooperative to examine Hope. He was a middle-aged man with a graying beard and reading glasses hanging around his neck. He had worked in the area for over 15 years and was known for being strict but fair in his diagnoses. "So this is the famous cow with the special milk," said William, approaching Hope with professional caution. Marcus grew nervous. What if the veterinarian found something wrong with his cow? What if Eleanor changed her mind about helping him? He held Hope's rope tightly as if he could protect her from any bad news. William began the examination by touching Hope's muzzle, checking if it was moist and cool, a sign of good health. Then he examined her eyes, ears, and mouth. The cow remained calm throughout the entire procedure, as if understanding she was being cared for. "Interesting," murmured William, touching the cow's udders. "The milk production is truly exceptional for an animal this age. How old is she?" 3 years, Doctor. I've taken care of her since she was a calf," replied Marcus. "You said she started producing milk just a few days ago. That's very unusual. Cows don't start producing without having gone through pregnancy." William seemed intrigued. "Are you sure she hasn't been with bulls recently?" Marcus shook his head. Hope had always been only with him, never having had contact with other animals. It was another mystery he couldn't explain. During the examination, William noticed something that made him stop immediately. On Hope's left ear was a small mark, almost imperceptible, that seemed to have been made with a hot iron years ago. It was a unique symbol he had never seen before, but it sparked his curiosity. "Marcus, have you ever seen this mark on her ear?" asked William, pointing to the small symbol. The boy approached and looked carefully. There really was a mark he had never noticed before, somewhat hidden by the ear's fur. It was a strange design, resembling 2 intertwined letters. "I never noticed, Doctor. What does it mean?" William took a magnifying glass from his veterinary kit and examined the mark more closely. It was definitely an intentional marking, done with professional precision. The symbol was composed of the letters SM, artistically intertwined. "This is a registered breeder's brand. Every farmer has their own brand to identify their cattle. But this one I've never seen before," said William, looking concerned. "Marcus, where exactly did you find this cow?" The boy felt a chill in his stomach. He had always told the story that he found Hope abandoned on the road, but he had never questioned where she really came from. Now with a property mark, the situation became complicated. She was alone on the road near my house 3 years ago. No one showed up to look for her," Marcus answered honestly. William remained silent for a few moments, analyzing the situation. It was possible the cow had gotten lost from her original herd, but such an elaborate brand indicated she belonged to a serious breeder who would certainly have searched for the animal. "I'll do some research about this brand. I have contacts with other veterinarians in the region who can help me identify the original breeder," said William. "In the meantime, you can rest easy. The cow is healthy and well cared for." The conversation left Marcus uneasy. What if they discovered Hope belonged to someone else? What if they came to take her? She was the only company he had in the world, the only thing left from his previous life. Eleanor noticed the boy's worry and tried to reassure him. "Marcus, even if we find the original owner, you've cared for her for 3 years. That counts for something. Besides, it's strange that no one has looked for her all this time." In the following days, life at the cooperative brought a comforting routine for Marcus. He woke up early to milk Hope, helped Eleanor with the cooperative's chores, and in the afternoon he took care of the cow and studied with some old books Eleanor had lent him. The exceptional quality of Hope's milk quickly spread through the town. Customers came from far away specifically to buy products made with that special milk. The cooperative, which was on the verge of bankruptcy, began to prosper again. "Eleanor, this cheese is delicious. Where did you get this milk?" asked Mrs. Helen, one of the cooperative's oldest customers. "It's a special secret," replied Eleanor with a smile, protecting Marcus's privacy. But not everything was calm. One afternoon, while Marcus was taking care of Hope in the back of the cooperative, an elegant woman appeared at the place. She wore expensive clothes and drove an imported car, completely contrasting with the simplicity of the small town. "Good afternoon. I'm looking for information about a special milk you're selling," the woman said to Eleanor. Eleanor immediately became suspicious. The woman didn't seem like a regular customer of the cooperative. "May I know the reason for your interest?" asked Eleanor, polite but cautious. "My name is Dr. Patricia Chambers. I work at an animal genetics lab in Nashville. We've received reports about milk with exceptional characteristics being produced here. We're interested in studying the animal that produces this milk." Marcus, who was organizing hay in the back of the cooperative, overheard the conversation and hid behind a stack of bags. His heart raced. A genetics lab? That didn't sound good at all. "I don't know what you're talking about," said Eleanor, deciding to protect Marcus until she understood the situation better. Patricia smiled, but it was a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She was 40 years old, with well-kept blonde hair and a posture that showed she was used to getting what she wanted. "Come on, Mrs. Eleanor. No need to be so cautious. We're willing to pay very well for the animal. Our research could be very valuable for the development of Brazilian livestock." "How do you know my name?" Eleanor was growing increasingly suspicious. "We did our research. We know there's a boy living here with a special cow. We want to make a profitable offer." Marcus felt a wave of panic. How did that woman know about him? How had she found out about Hope? He decided to move closer to hear the conversation better. "We're not interested in selling anything," said Eleanor firmly. "Thank you for your visit, but we have nothing to discuss." Patricia didn't seem surprised by the refusal. In fact, she seemed to be expecting exactly that response. "I understand your caution, but perhaps you should talk to the boy before making a decision for him. We're talking about a significant amount, enough to secure his future. The decision is neither mine nor yours. The boy is under my protection now." Eleanor was visibly irritated. After Patricia left, Eleanor called Marcus for a serious talk. The boy was clearly shaken by the unexpected visit. "Marcus, do you have any idea how that woman found out about you and Hope?" asked Eleanor. "I have no idea, Mrs. Eleanor. No one else knows about us here in town." "That worries me. Someone is investigating you and we don't know why. I'll talk to Dr. William to see if he's found out anything about Hope's brand." That night, Marcus could hardly sleep. The appearance of the mysterious doctor had awakened fears he'd rather not face. What if Hope was really special in some way he didn't understand? What if powerful people wanted to take her away from him? The next day, William arrived at the cooperative with information that would make the situation even more complicated. "Eleanor, Marcus, I need to talk to you. I managed to identify Hope's brand," said the veterinarian, clearly apprehensive. The three sat in the cooperative's small room as William opened a folder with documents. These letters, SM, stand for Wonder Ranch. It was a famous property in the region about 20 years ago. The owner was Sebastian Mitchell, a respected breeder who developed some very special genetic lines. Marcus leaned forward, eager to hear more. The problem is that Sebastian disappeared mysteriously 15 years ago. He was never heard from again. The property was abandoned, and all the cattle were sold or dispersed, continued William. So Hope might have come from there, asked Marcus. It's possible, but there's something even stranger. I spoke with some older colleagues, and they told me that Sebastian was developing an experimental genetic lineage at the time of the disappearance, something related to the exceptional quality of the milk. Eleanor and Marcus exchanged worried looks. The pieces of a more complex puzzle were falling into place, but the overall picture was still unclear. Dr. William, do you think that doctor who showed up here yesterday might have some connection to this? Asked Eleanor. It's possible. If she really works with animal genetics, she might be interested in the special lineage Sebastian was developing. The conversation was interrupted by the sound of a truck stopping in front of the cooperative. It was an old pickup truck, driven by a simple-looking man wearing a leather hat and work clothes. "Can I speak with you?" asked the man, getting out of the pickup. "My name is Anthony Taylor. I'm a livestock trader from the region." Eleanor approached politely but maintained a cautious stance after Patricia's visit the day before. "How can we help you, Mr. Anthony? I heard you have a special cow here. I'm interested in making a deal," said Anthony, looking around as if searching for something specific. Marcus felt his stomach churn. 2 people in 2 days looking for Hope couldn't be a coincidence. Something was happening, and he was at the center of it without understanding why. "We're not selling anything," Eleanor said quickly. Anthony smiled, but there was something forced in his expression. He was about 50 years old, his face weathered by the sun, and his hands calloused from decades of working with cattle. "You don't even know what you're refusing. This cow could be worth much more than you imagine." William approached, intrigued by the comment. "Could you explain what you mean?" Anthony looked around as if wanting to make sure no one else was listening. "This cow has a mark that I recognize. I've seen this symbol before, a long time ago. If it's what I'm thinking, she might be descended from a very valuable lineage." "Did you know Sebastian Mitchell?" William asked directly. Anthony's expression changed immediately. He seemed surprised that they knew about Sebastian. "Yes, I did. Sebastian was my cousin. I worked at his ranch for a few years before the troubles began." Marcus approached, finally seeing an opportunity to get answers about Hope's past. "What kind of troubles?" asked the boy. Anthony looked at Marcus as if seeing him for the first time. There was something in his gaze that seemed like recognition but also confusion. "Boy, where did you get this cow?" asked Anthony in a more serious tone. "I found her on the road 3 years ago. She was alone," Marcus answered honestly. Anthony fell silent for a few moments, as if processing the information. Then he moved closer to Marcus, studying his face carefully. "What did you say your name was, boy?" "Marcus Taylor." "Taylor." Anthony repeated the surname thoughtfully. "And your parents, where are you from?" Marcus hesitated. It was still hard to talk about his family situation, especially with a stranger, but something about Anthony's way of speaking made him trust him. "My mother. She left when I was little. My stepfather threw me out of the house a few weeks ago." "And your mother's name?" "Margaret Taylor." Anthony's reaction was immediate and intense. He took a step back, as if he'd been punched in the stomach. His face paled, and his hands began to tremble. "Margaret Taylor," he murmured. "It can't be." Eleanor and William realized something important was happening. Marcus was frightened by Anthony's reaction. "Did you know my mother?" Marcus asked with a choked voice. Anthony sat down heavily on the wooden bench in front of the cooperative. He ran his hand over his face and stared at Marcus with an expression of disbelief. "Margaret. She worked at Wonder Ranch. She was a very special person. She cared for the animals with a tenderness I've never seen in anyone." Marcus felt his heart race. He was finally learning something about his mother's past, something he had never known. "Did she work with Mr. Sebastian?" "She did, and..." Anthony hesitated, as if unsure whether to continue. Margaret was very close to the Mitchell family, very close indeed. Anthony's tone suggested there was more behind that statement. Eleanor approached, sensing the conversation was taking a serious turn. "Mr. Anthony, do you know what happened to Margaret? Marcus believes she left when he was little." "She didn't leave," Anthony said firmly. "Margaret disappeared at the same time as Sebastian, 15 years ago." Marcus's world seemed to collapse. Had his mother not abandoned the family by choice? Had she disappeared? Questions multiplied in his mind, creating more confusion than clarity. "Disappeared how?" Marcus asked with a trembling voice. "No one ever knew. One day they were there, the next they were gone. They didn't take anything, didn't leave a note. The house was as if they had gone for a walk and never returned." William approached with a serious expression. "Mr. Anthony, are you suggesting there was something criminal?" "I don't know. At the time, many people speculated, but nothing was ever discovered. The only strange thing is that some outsiders had appeared in the area in the days before, asking about Sebastian's work. Marcus was trying to process all that information. His mother had worked with the breeder who developed the special genetic line. She had disappeared mysteriously, and now he had a cow that was apparently a descendant of that line. It couldn't be a coincidence. "Mr. Anthony," Marcus said with determination, "I need to know more about my mother. Can you tell me everything you know?" Anthony looked at the boy with compassion. It was clear that Marcus was suffering from the revelations, but also that he deserved to know the truth. Margaret was a brave and caring woman. Sebastian hired her initially to care for the animals, but soon realized she had a special talent. The animals responded to her in a unique way. How so? It was as if she understood what they needed. Cows that didn't produce milk with other caretakers would calm down with her. Sick animals recovered faster under her care. Sebastian said he had never seen anything like it. Marcus thought of his special connection with Hope. The cow had always been affectionate and obedient with him, in a way people commented was unusual. And the special project he was developing? Sebastian was trying to create a cattle line that produced milk with superior nutritional properties, something that could help malnourished children in the region. Margaret helped him with the special care those animals needed. The information hit Marcus like a bolt of lightning. Hope's exceptional milk wasn't just a coincidence. It was the result of years of scientific work by his mother and Sebastian. So Hope could be a direct descendant of that project. It's very likely. "But there's something else you need to know, Marcus," said Anthony, hesitating again. "What?" Margaret was pregnant when she disappeared. The silence that followed was heavy and charged with emotion. Marcus tried to calculate the dates in his mind. 15 years ago, he would have been about 2 years old. "Pregnant with whom?" asked Marcus, though he suspected the answer. "I can't be sure, but at the time everyone thought she was Sebastian's daughter. They had become very close during their work." Marcus felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. If his mother was pregnant 15 years ago and had disappeared along with Sebastian, did that mean he could have a brother or sister somewhere? Eleanor approached Marcus and placed a hand on his shoulder, sensing the whirlwind of emotions the boy was facing. "Marcus, that's a lot to take in all at once. Let's take it slow." But Marcus couldn't stay calm. His whole life had been a lie. His mother hadn't abandoned the family. She had disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and she may have had another child he never knew existed. "Mr. Anthony, do you think they're still alive?" asked Marcus with hope and fear in his voice. "I don't know, son. That's what we've all been hoping for 15 years. The conversation was interrupted again, this time by the arrival of a city pickup truck. The vehicle stopped in front of the cooperative, and a middle-aged man in an official uniform got out. "Good afternoon. I'm Health Inspector Charles Henderson. I received an anonymous complaint about inadequate cattle raising conditions at this establishment." Eleanor was outraged. The cooperative had always maintained the highest standards of hygiene and animal care. "That's absurd! Our cooperative has always passed every inspection." "Unfortunately, I need to verify this personally. The specific complaint is that there's an animal being kept in inadequate conditions at the back of the establishment. Marcus felt his stomach turn. Someone had specifically reported Hope's presence. This couldn't be a coincidence, especially after Patricia's visits and Anthony's revelations. William stepped forward, using his authority as the local veterinarian. "Charles, I'm the one who monitors the health of all the animals here. I can guarantee there are no irregularities. Dr. William, I respect you greatly, but I need to conduct my official verification. It's protocol." The group headed to the back of the cooperative, where Hope was peacefully grazing in the small pasture Eleanor had prepared for her. The animal was visibly healthy, well cared for, and in excellent condition. Charles examined the facilities thoroughly, clearly looking for some problem that could justify the complaint. After 15 minutes of detailed inspection, he was forced to admit there were no irregularities. "Everything seems in order," said Charles, looking disappointed. "But I'll leave an inspection report. If there's another complaint, I'll be back." After the inspector left, Anthony approached Marcus with a worried expression. "Son, you're in danger. Someone is trying to cause trouble to take your cow from you." "But why? What's so special about her?" "If Hope is truly a descendant of Sebastian's project, she could be worth a lot of money, not just for the special milk, but for the genetic heritage she carries." Eleanor was visibly upset by the whole situation. In just a few days, her quiet cooperative had become the center of mysteries and conflicts she didn't fully understand. "What do you think we should do?" asked Eleanor. "First, we need to protect Marcus and Hope. Whoever is behind this won't give up easily," said Anthony. "Second, we need to find out the truth about what happened to Margaret and Sebastian." Marcus looked at Hope, who was calmly chewing grass, unaware of all the commotion around her. The cow that had been his only companion in the toughest times now turned out to be the key to unraveling the mystery about his family. "I want to look for my mother," said Marcus with determination. "If there's a chance she might still be alive, I need to find her." "Marcus, it could be dangerous. If there are people trying to get Hope by questionable means, they might not hesitate to hurt you," warned William. "It doesn't matter. I spent my whole life thinking my mother abandoned me. Now I know that might not be true. I need to find out what really happened." Anthony admired the boy's courage, but was also worried about his safety. He decided to make an offer that could help protect Marcus and at the same time investigate the past. "Marcus, how about we go together to the old Wonder Ranch? Maybe we'll find some clues about what happened to your mother and Sebastian." The proposal immediately sparked Marcus's interest, but Eleanor was hesitant. "I don't think it's a good idea. If there are dangerous people involved in this, you could be putting yourselves at risk." "Mrs. Eleanor, I need to know the truth, and Mr. Anthony knows the place. It will be safer than trying to investigate alone." After much discussion, it was decided that Anthony and Marcus would visit the old Wonder Ranch the next day, while William would stay at the cooperative to protect Hope and Eleanor. It was a risky plan, but it seemed the best way to move forward with the investigation. That night, Marcus could hardly sleep. His world had completely turned upside down in a matter of hours. The mother he thought had abandoned him might have disappeared against her will. He might have a brother or sister somewhere, and Hope wasn't just his pet cow, but a genetically special animal that powerful people wanted to obtain. The next morning, Anthony arrived early at the cooperative. Marcus was both anxious and nervous. The journey to the old Wonder Ranch would take about 2 hours along quiet rural roads. "Remember, Marcus, we're just going to look around the place. If we see anything suspicious, we turn back immediately," said Anthony, starting the pickup truck. The road was dusty and full of potholes, crossing fields and small villages that seemed frozen in time. Marcus looked out the window, wondering if his mother had taken that same route years ago. "Mr. Anthony, can you tell me more about my mother? What was she like?" Anthony smiled fondly, clearly holding good memories of Margaret. "Your mother was a very special person, Marcus. Besides having a natural talent with animals, she was brave and determined. When she believed in something, she fought for it with all her strength. And did she like Mr. Sebastian?" "Yes, she did." It was clear to everyone that they cared deeply for each other. Sebastian was a good man, smart and dedicated to his work. Your mother found in him someone who respected her abilities and supported her dreams. Marcus absorbed every word, creating a mental image of a mother he had never really known. The woman Robert Anderson described as irresponsible seemed very different from the person Anthony was describing. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. After 2 hours of travel, Anthony's pickup truck turned onto an even narrower dirt road, lined with old fences and abandoned pastures. At the end of the road, a large, visibly abandoned house appeared among the trees. "This is it," said Anthony, stopping the pickup in front of the rusty gate. The Wonder Ranch was much bigger than Marcus had imagined. The main house was an old but solid building, with a wide porch and large windows. Around it were several smaller structures, stables, sheds, and what looked like it had been a laboratory. "Everything is exactly as it was 15 years ago," observed Anthony, pushing the gate that creaked loudly. They approached the main house cautiously. The windows were boarded up, and vegetation had grown around the walls, giving the place a melancholy look. "Your mother lived in a smaller house back there," said Anthony, pointing to a building about 100 yards from the main house. Marcus walked toward the house where his mother had lived, feeling a mix of emotion and nervousness. It was as if he was about to uncover a part of his history that had always been a mystery. The house was small but cozy, even in its abandoned state. It had 2 bedrooms, a simple living room, and a kitchen. Marcus tried to imagine his mother living there, taking care of the animals, working on the special project with Sebastian. "May I go in?" asked Marcus. Of course. The back door was always left open. Margaret didn't like locking things up. The inside of the house was covered in dust and cobwebs, but it was still possible to see how it had been arranged. Marcus explored the rooms curiously, searching for anything that might have belonged to his mother. In the larger bedroom, he found an old dresser with stuck drawers. With some effort, he managed to open the top drawer. Inside were some women's clothes, and at the bottom, a small blue-covered notebook. "Mr. Anthony, I found something." Anthony approached as Marcus carefully opened the notebook. The pages were yellowed with age, but still legible. It was a diary, written in his mother's delicate handwriting. "It's your mother's," confirmed Anthony, recognizing the handwriting. Marcus began reading the first pages, feeling intense emotion at seeing his mother's words for the first time. The first entries dated back more than 15 years. "I arrived at Wonder Ranch today. Sebastian seems like a good person, genuinely concerned about the animals' well-being. The work he's developing could really help many children in the region." Marcus continued reading, skipping to more recent entries in the diary. "Marcus is growing up so fast. Robert doesn't understand why I need to work here. But this project is too important to abandon. If we can develop this genetic line, we could produce milk with exceptional nutritional properties. Sebastian asked me to marry him today. I'm confused. I love Robert, but our relationship is getting harder. He doesn't accept my work and gets jealous of the time I spend here." Marcus stopped reading. His mother had been proposed to by Sebastian. That would explain why Robert had become so resentful and why he had always treated him poorly. "Keep reading, Marcus. Maybe we'll find clues about the disappearance," encouraged Anthony. "I'm pregnant. I told Sebastian, and he was emotional. He said he wants to raise the child as his own, but I need to tell Robert. I can't keep lying." Robert was furious when I told him about the pregnancy. He said it wasn't his child and that I was betraying him. I couldn't explain that the child could still be his, but he wouldn't listen. Strange people showed up at the ranch today. They claimed to be from a pharmaceutical company interested in our work. Sebastian was suspicious of their intentions. They offered a lot of money for the project, but Sebastian refused. He said the goal is to help people, not get rich. Marcus was absorbing every word, understanding better the conflicts that led to his mother's disappearance. The last entries in the diary became more tense and worried. The men came back. This time they weren't polite. They made veiled threats about what could happen if we didn't sell the project. Sebastian is worried but determined not to give in. We decided to leave the ranch for a few days until the situation calms down. We're taking the most important animals to a safe place. I hope this is only temporary. The last entry was from 15 years ago, exactly at the time of the disappearance. Something is wrong. Sebastian didn't return from the city this morning as he had promised. I'm worried. If anything happens to us, I hope Marcus grows up knowing I always loved him, even when I had to stay away to protect him." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. His mother hadn't abandoned him. She had tried to protect him and had disappeared in the process. "Anthony, they left to protect the project's animals. That means there could be other animals like Hope somewhere." "It's possible. But where?" The diary doesn't give specific clues about where they went. Marcus continued flipping through the notebook, searching for more information. In the last pages, he found something that made his heart race. It was a rudimentary map, drawn in pencil, showing a path leading from the ranch toward the region's mountains. "Look at this, it's a map!" Anthony examined the drawing carefully. He recognized some geographical landmarks from the area. This path leads to a very isolated area in the mountains. There's an abandoned farm up there that belonged to a friend of Sebastian's. "Can we go there?" "It's a difficult climb, and we don't know if it's safe. If there are dangerous people looking for the project, they might have discovered this place too." But Marcus was determined. He had spent years believing his mother had abandoned him, and now he discovered she may have sacrificed her own safety to protect both him and the project she believed in. "Mr. Anthony, I need to go. Even if it's dangerous, it's the only clue we have." Anthony looked at the boy and saw the same determination he had known in Margaret years ago. It was impossible to deny a request made with such conviction. "All right, but let's go back to the cooperative first. Get supplies and tell Eleanor what we've discovered. If we're going up the mountain, we need to prepare properly." The trip back to the cooperative was made in silence. Marcus was lost in thought, processing all the revelations he had discovered in his mother's diary. Anthony also seemed worried, clearly pondering the risks of the expedition Marcus was proposing. When they arrived at the cooperative, they found Eleanor visibly nervous. "I'm so glad you're back. We had more unwanted visitors while you were away," said Eleanor, hugging Marcus with relief. "What happened?" "That Dr. Patricia came back, this time with 2 men. They said they had a court order to examine Hope. William asked to see the documents, but they had nothing official." Marcus felt a wave of anger. These people were clearly trying to intimidate and pressure them to get Hope. "Where are they now?" "They left when William threatened to call the local authorities, but they said they would return with proper documentation." William approached, looking concerned about the whole situation. "Marcus, Anthony, I think you're dealing with very powerful people. This whole story doesn't smell right to me." Marcus told Eleanor and William everything they had discovered at the old ranch, his mother's diary, the threats she and Sebastian had received, and the map indicating a possible hideout in the mountains. "Marcus, I understand your need to find your mother, but this could be extremely dangerous," said Eleanor with maternal concern. "Mrs. Eleanor, if there's a chance my mother is still alive, I need to investigate. I spent years hating a woman who may have sacrificed everything to protect me." William stood by Marcus's side. "If you're determined to do this, at least accept my help. I have equipment that could be useful, and I know the mountain region well." "And I'm coming too," declared Eleanor, surprising everyone. "Mrs. Eleanor, it's very dangerous, Marcus, you've become like a son to me these past weeks. I won't let you face this alone. Besides, if those criminals come back looking for Hope, it's better she isn't here." The decision was made. The next day the group would leave for the mountains, taking Hope and following the map left by Margaret. It was a risky expedition, but it represented the only hope of uncovering the truth about the past, and perhaps finding the family Marcus never knew he had. That night, as they prepared for the journey, Marcus spent a long time beside Hope, talking to the cow as he always did. "Tomorrow we might find out where you came from, Hope, and maybe I'll finally find my mother." The cow let out a soft moo, as if understanding the importance of the moment. Marcus hugged the animal's neck, feeling a mix of fear, hope, and determination. The next morning, the group set out early in 2 pickup trucks. Anthony drove one, carrying Marcus and some supplies. William drove the other with Eleanor and the veterinary equipment. Hope traveled in an adapted trailer, where she stayed comfortable and safe. The route indicated on Margaret's map led along increasingly narrow and steep roads. The climb into the mountains was challenging, with sharp curves and sections where the road was just dirt. "We're getting close," said Anthony, consulting the map. "According to your mother's directions, there should be a hidden entrance around here." Marcus looked attentively out the window, searching for any sign that might indicate human presence in the area. The mountains were covered in dense forest, with few clearings where sunlight could penetrate. After 3 hours of climbing, they found an almost imperceptible trail branching off from the main road. It was exactly where the map indicated they should turn. "This is it," said Marcus, comparing the landmarks drawn in the diary with the actual landscape. The trail was too narrow for the vehicles, so they decided to continue on foot. Hope was put on a long rope, allowing her to walk comfortably among the group. After an hour of walking through the trees, they reached a clearing where there were the remains of an old structure. They were the ruins of an abandoned farm, exactly as Anthony had described. "There's someone here," William said in a low voice, pointing to a thin wisp of smoke rising from behind the ruins. The group approached cautiously. Marcus felt his heart pounding. Could it be his mother? Or could it be the dangerous people looking for the project? A figure emerged from behind the ruins. It was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and simple work clothes. She seemed frightened to see the group, but when her gaze fixed on Marcus, her expression changed completely. "Marcus," she murmured, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. The boy felt his legs tremble. The woman was older and thinner than he remembered, but she was unmistakably his mother. "Mom," he managed to whisper. Margaret Taylor ran toward her son, and the two embraced in the middle of the clearing, crying with emotion. It was a reunion Marcus had dreamed of, but never believed would actually be possible. "My son, my dear son," Margaret repeated, covering Marcus's face with kisses and tears. "How you've grown, how I've missed you." "Mom, I thought you had abandoned me." Robert Anderson said, "Never, my love, I would never abandon you. I had to leave to protect you, but I thought of you every day for these 15 years. The reunion was interrupted by the approach of another figure. A man with a graying beard and a tired appearance emerged from behind the ruins. Marcus recognized him immediately from the descriptions he had heard. It was Sebastian Mitchell. "Anthony," said Sebastian, surprised to see his cousin. "How did you find us?" "We followed the map from Margaret's diary," explained Anthony. "Marcus found out about you and insisted on searching." Sebastian approached Marcus with a tired but warm smile. "So you're the famous Marcus. Your mother talks about you every day. It's a pleasure to finally meet you." Marcus looked at Sebastian with curiosity. He was a man who appeared older than he should be, clearly marked by years of hidden life in the mountains. "Where have you been all this time?" asked Eleanor, still emotional from the reunion scene. "Right here," answered Margaret. "We rebuilt a small part of the farm and continued our work in secret. We couldn't return because the people who threatened us are still looking for the project." "And were you able to keep breeding the special animals?" asked Marcus. Sebastian smiled and gestured for the group to follow him. Behind the main ruins, there was a new and well-kept building where the mooing of several cows could be heard. "We have 12 cows of the special lineage now," said Sebastian proudly. "We continued developing the project, even under difficult conditions." Marcus looked at the cows and immediately recognized the resemblance to Hope. They were animals with the same noble appearance and the same expressive eyes. "So Hope is really a sister to these cows?" "More than that," said Margaret, approaching Hope with evident affection. "She's the daughter of our original breeding cow. When we had to leave the ranch quickly, we couldn't bring all the animals. We left some calves hidden, hoping we could return to get them. Hope was one of those calves." "Yes. We were devastated when we returned to the ranch months later and didn't find her. We thought something bad had happened to her." Marcus petted Hope with even more affection, finally understanding the full story of his special cow. "But how did you survive here all this time?" "We sold the special milk to some selected buyers in distant cities," explained Sebastian. "People who appreciate the exceptional quality and don't ask questions about the origin. With the money, we bought basic supplies and kept the project running." Margaret approached Marcus again, still not quite able to believe her son was there. "Marcus, I need to tell you about the baby. You have a sister." Marcus's world stopped again. He had a sister? All the suspicions he had developed from reading the diary were confirmed. "Where is she?" "Here. She was sleeping when you arrived." Margaret led Marcus to a part of the house where a girl of about 14 was resting in a hammock. She had brown hair like Marcus and the same expressive eyes as her mother. "Emily, wake up. There's someone very special for you to meet." The girl opened her eyes and looked at Marcus with curiosity. Margaret had told her about her older brother all her life, but Emily had never imagined she would meet him. "Marcus?" asked Emily, still sleepy. "Hi, little sister," replied Marcus, feeling an indescribable emotion. The hug between the siblings was touching. Marcus finally understood why he had felt incomplete all his life. It wasn't just the absence of his mother, but also a family he never knew existed. Sebastian approached the group with a serious expression. "You need to know that we're still in danger. The people who forced us to flee the ranch never stopped looking for the project. If they find out we're here—" "Who are these people?" asked William. "An international pharmaceutical company that wants to buy our genetic formula to commercialize on a large scale. They don't care about our mission to help underprivileged children. They only want the profits." Marcus remembered Patricia and the men who had shown up at the cooperative. "I think they've already found us. A woman named Patricia Chambers came looking for hope." Margaret and Sebastian's reaction was immediate. They exchanged worried glances. "Patricia works for the company that's been chasing us for 15 years, said Margaret. "If she found you, it's only a matter of time until they discover our location." "What can we do?" asked Eleanor. Sebastian thought for a few moments before answering. "We have two options: run away again and start over somewhere else, or face the situation once and for all." "What do you mean by face it?" asked Anthony. "Make our work public. If we can publicize the project and show its benefits to the community, it will be very difficult for the pharmaceutical company to try to take it over illegally." Marcus liked the idea. He was tired of running and hiding. He wanted to be able to live a normal life with his newly found family. "I vote to face it," said Marcus with determination. "But that's risky, son. These people could be dangerous." "Mum, you spent 15 years in hiding because of fear. Maybe it's time to fight for what's right." Margaret looked at Sebastian, who agreed with a nod. Emily also showed she was in favor of facing the situation. "All right, but we're going to need help. We can't do this alone." William offered to use his contacts in the veterinary field to give scientific credibility to the project. Eleanor suggested involving other cooperatives in the region to create a support network. Anthony knew local journalists who could help spread the story. The plan was developed throughout the rest of the afternoon. First, they would fully document Margaret and Sebastian's work, including the nutritional results of the special milk. Then, they would hold a public presentation of the project, inviting local authorities, the press, and representatives from social organizations. "If we can show that this project can really help malnourished children in the region, we'll have public opinion on our side," said Sebastian. Marcus was excited about the possibility of finally living openly with his family. The 15 years of separation had been long and painful for everyone involved. That night, the family reunited for the first time, shared stories and memories. Margaret told about the difficult days hiding in the mountains, always wondering how Marcus was growing up. Emily described her isolated childhood, dreaming of meeting the older brother she had heard so much about. "Mom, why did Robert Anderson always treat me badly?" asked Marcus. "Your stepfather is a bitter man, Marcus. When he found out about my pregnancy with Emily and learned that Sebastian was in love with me, he became jealous and angry. Unfortunately, he took that anger out on you." "But I always thought he was my real father." "No, my love. Your biological father left when you were very young. Robert Anderson helped raise you in the early years, but he never managed to love you as he should have." The revelations continued through the night. Marcus discovered he had other relatives he had never met, that his mother had always been a courageous and determined person, and that Sebastian had become a true father to Emily. The next day, preparations began to make the project public. William contacted veterinary colleagues and researchers from universities. Eleanor spoke with other cooperatives and rural associations. Anthony reached out to journalists and local government representatives. The response was surprisingly positive. The story of a family separated by corporate greed and reunited through dedication to a social project sparked genuine interest from the press and authorities. "We have a meeting scheduled with the mayor and the Secretary of Rural Development for next week," announced Anthony. Marcus was nervous but also hopeful. He finally had a complete family and a clear purpose. He wanted to help promote his mother and Sebastian's work, showing the world that there were alternatives to the greedy practices of large corporations. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. The week of preparation passed quickly. The group worked intensely to organize the scientific documentation, nutritional results and testimonials from families who had already benefited from the special milk over the years. Emily revealed she had inherited her mother's talent for caring for the animals. During the years of isolation, she had become an expert in managing the special cows, knowing each animal individually and their specific needs. "She's even better than I was at her age," Margaret said with pride. Marcus was impressed by his sister's competence. Despite being only 14, Emily demonstrated a maturity and knowledge that surpassed many adults he knew. "Do you want to continue with this work when you grow up?" asked Marcus. "Of course, it's the dream of my life. Mom always told me about the importance of the project, about the children who can be helped with our special milk." Emily's dedication inspired Marcus even more. He decided that he also wanted to be part of the project permanently, learning everything he could about raising the special animals and producing the unique milk. On the day of the public presentation, a large tent was set up in the main square of St. Benedict Valley. Attending were the mayor, representatives from the state government, veterinarians from various universities, journalists from the regional press, and dozens of curious residents. Marcus was nervous, but Margaret reassured him. "Remember, son, we're fighting for a just cause. The truth is on our side." The presentation began with William explaining the scientific aspects of the project. He showed how careful genetic selection had resulted in animals capable of producing milk with superior nutritional properties. "This isn't a common commercial project," explained William. "It's a social initiative that can significantly benefit children in situations of nutritional vulnerability." Next, Sebastian recounted the story of the project's development, from its origins to the years of work in the mountains. His speech was moving and convincing, showing scientific dedication combined with social responsibility. "We never had any interest in getting rich from this work," said Sebastian. "Our motivation has always been to contribute to reducing child malnutrition in our region." Margaret spoke about the challenges faced by the family, including the threats that forced them into hiding for 15 years. Her courage in publicly exposing the situation impressed the audience. "We had to choose between our safety and our children's well-being. We chose to protect Marcus and Emily, even if it meant living apart for a long time." Marcus was invited to speak about his perspective as a son who grew up believing he had been abandoned, only to discover that his mother had sacrificed everything to protect him. "For years, I lived with anger and sadness, thinking my mother didn't want me. Today I know she always loved me, and that everything she did was out of love. I want to continue her work so that other children can benefit from the project." Marcus's speech deeply moved the audience. Many people cried upon hearing his story of apparent abandonment, transformed into a family reunion. Emily, despite her initial shyness, also spoke about her experience growing up isolated but always with a clear purpose in life. "I never felt alone because I knew our work could help other children. Now with my brother back, our family is complete and we can work together on the project." The presentation ended with practical demonstrations of the exceptional quality of milk produced by the special cows. Several veterinarians present confirmed the superior results in terms of proteins, vitamins, and minerals. The mayor was visibly impressed with the project. "This is exactly the kind of initiative our city needs to support. I will work to ensure you receive all the necessary government support. University representatives offered partnerships for additional research and broader scientific validation of the project. Cooperatives from other cities expressed interest in replicating the initiative. But the most important moment came when Patricia Chambers appeared at the presentation, accompanied by the same men who had tried to intimidate Eleanor at the cooperative. "This presentation is very touching," Patricia said with irony, "but you are dealing with intellectual property that does not belong to you." The silence in the tent was immediate. All attention turned to the confrontation between Patricia and Margaret's family. Sebastian stood up calmly but firmly. "Dr. Patricia, this project was developed with our own resources and knowledge. There is no external intellectual property involved." "That is a lie. The company I represent partially funded Mr. Mitchell's initial research over 15 years ago. We have documents that prove our rights to any resulting developments." Marcus felt a wave of anger. That woman was trying to steal his family's work in front of the entire community. William approached Patricia with a folder of documents. "Dr. Patricia, I would like to see those documents you mentioned. As the veterinarian responsible for the scientific validation of this project, I need to verify any claims of intellectual property." Patricia hesitated. It was evident she had not expected to be questioned publicly about her claims. "The documents are being processed legally. Soon we will present all the necessary documentation. Until that happens, there is no legal basis for your claims," said the mayor, taking the family's side. "This project has the full support of our administration." Patricia's attempt at public intimidation proved counterproductive. Instead of frightening the family, it ended up mobilizing even more support from the community and authorities. After Patricia and her companions left frustrated, the presentation continued with an even more positive atmosphere. The external threat had united everyone present around the family and the project. In the following weeks, the project gained prominence in the regional and national press. Newspapers and television programs told the story of the family separated by corporate greed and reunited by dedication to a social ideal. Public support was overwhelming. Donations came from all over the country to help expand the project. Universities offered scholarships to Marcus and Emily. Cooperatives from all over Brazil wanted to implement similar versions of the program. Marcus was finally able to enroll in a regular school, where he told his extraordinary story to fascinated classmates. Emily continued to be homeschooled by Margaret and Sebastian, but now with access to much better educational resources. Eleanor's cooperative became the distribution center for the special milk throughout the region. The success of the project allowed her to expand her operations and employ several people from the community. Hope reunited with her sisters from the special herd, now living on a suitable farm that was built with the donations received. Marcus continued to have a special relationship with her, but now understood he was part of something much bigger. "Hope was our guide to reuniting the family," Marcus told his mother. "If it weren't for her, I would never have discovered the truth." "Animals have a special wisdom," Margaret replied. "They guide us to where we need to be." Anthony became the administrative coordinator of the project, using his experience with cattle trade to organize sales and distributions. His dedication to helping Marcus find the family had created permanent bonds among everyone. William was appointed scientific director of the project, coordinating research in partnership with various universities. His rigorous work ensured the scientific credibility needed for the program's expansion. 6 months after the family reunion, the project had already expanded to 10 cities in the region. Hundreds of underprivileged children were receiving the special milk with proven superior nutritional results. Marcus was completing his studies with excellent grades, motivated by the dream of graduating in veterinary medicine and continuing the family's scientific work. Emily demonstrated exceptional talent for animal genetics, having developed her own selection methods that impressed even university researchers. Margaret and Sebastian were finally able to marry officially in a simple but moving ceremony held at the project's new farm. Marcus was the best man, and Emily was the maid of honor. The entire community of St. Benedict Valley attended the celebration. "Now our family is complete," Margaret said during the wedding speech, "and our work can continue openly. helping as many children as possible. The pharmaceutical company represented by Patricia tried to sue the family for a few months, but couldn't present convincing documentation about intellectual property. Eventually, they dropped the legal claims, especially after negative press coverage. Patricia even made one last negotiation attempt, offering millions of dollars for the genetic formula. The family unanimously refused, remaining faithful to the original social purpose of the project. "Our work is not for sale," Sebastian said firmly. "It was developed to help people, not to enrich corporations." The family's final refusal became a symbol of resistance against corporate greed, inspiring other social projects around the country. Marcus was proud to be part of a family that put principles above profits. During the first year of the family reunion, Marcus matured significantly. The responsibility of helping manage an important social project, combined with his studies and adaptation to a new family dynamic, made him a determined and conscientious young man. "You've become an admirable man," Margaret told her son one afternoon as they worked together milking the special cows. "I learned from you, Mother. The courage you had to sacrifice your own safety to protect the project and the family inspires me every day." Emily had also developed greatly, losing her initial shyness and becoming a natural leader among the community's youth involved with the project. Her skill with animals was recognized even by more experienced specialists. "She has a special gift," William told Marcus. "In a few years, she could become one of the country's best geneticists." The project's farm became a visitation center for students, researchers, and authorities interested in replicating the initiative. Marcus enjoyed guiding the tours, telling his personal story and explaining the technical aspects he had learned. "This project proves it's possible to combine advanced science with social responsibility," Marcus explained to the visitors. "We don't have to choose between technological progress and caring for people." Eleanor continued managing the cooperative, which had become one of the most prosperous in the region. The success allowed her to offer better working conditions for her employees and support other social initiatives in the community. "Marcus changed our lives," Eleanor said in an interview with a local newspaper. "When he arrived here with his cow, he was just a lost boy. Today, he's a young man transforming our region." The relationship between Marcus and Robert Anderson, his former stepfather, remained complicated. Some attempts at reconciliation were made, but the resentment built up over years was hard to overcome. "Robert Anderson had his reasons for acting the way he did," Margaret said wisely. "What matters is that Marcus now knows the truth and can choose how to deal with the past." Dorothy, his former stepmother, made some discreet visits to the project ranch. It was clear she felt remorse for not defending Marcus during the years of mistreatment, but she also showed genuine happiness seeing him prosperous and surrounded by family love. "I always knew you were special, Marcus," Dorothy said during one of these visits. "I'm glad you found your true family." The project began receiving national recognition. Marcus and his family were invited to speak at conferences about rural development and social responsibility. The story of the expelled boy who found his family through a special cow became an example of perseverance and family values. "Our story shows that sometimes the greatest losses can lead us to the greatest encounters," Marcus said during a speech in the state capitol. The continued expansion of the project brought logistical and administrative challenges. Marcus suggested creating a foundation to coordinate all activities and ensure long-term financial sustainability. "We need to think about the future," Marcus said during a family meeting. "We want this project to keep helping children for decades, not just a few years." The Hope Foundation was officially created in the second year after the family reunion, with Marcus as founding president, despite his young age. His dedication and intimate knowledge of the project qualified him for the position. Margaret took over the technical direction of breeding the special animals, while Sebastian was responsible for genetic research and development. Emily was appointed assistant director, recognizing her early skills in the area. William coordinated all scientific and academic validation aspects. Eleanor managed the network of partner cooperatives. Anthony handled logistics and distribution. It was a cohesive team committed to the social goals of the project. The foundation's success attracted international attention. Organizations from other countries wanted to implement similar versions of the project, always respecting the original principles of social responsibility and local development. "We're creating a global movement of responsible and socially conscious breeding," Sebastian said during a video conference with European researchers interested in the project. Marcus was finishing high school with excellent grades, preparing to enter veterinary college. His goal was to obtain advanced scientific training to continue the family's work with even more technical competence. "I want to be worthy of the legacy I received," Marcus told his mother. "Your courage and dedication inspire me to be the best professional possible." Emily, at 16, had already published articles in specialized scientific journals describing innovative genetic selection methods she had developed. International universities offered scholarships for her to study abroad, but she preferred to stay on the family ranch. "My place is here," said Emily. "I want to help expand the project in Brazil before considering studying overseas." The project's ranch had transformed into a small community, with employees, visiting researchers, and student interns. Marcus enjoyed the academic and social environment they had created. "It's like living at a rural university," Marcus remarked to a visitor. "We're always learning and teaching at the same time." The bond between Marcus and Hope remained special, even as the herd grew. The cow, now a mother to several calves, seemed to understand her historic role as the link that reunited the separated family. "Hope is our symbolic matriarch," Marcus would tell visitors. "She represents the hope we must never lose, even in the toughest times." During the third year after the reunion, the project received an unexpected proposal. The federal government wanted to turn the initiative into a national program to combat child malnutrition. "It's a unique opportunity to expand our social impact," said Margaret during the family meeting to discuss the proposal. "But we must ensure our principles are maintained," cautioned Sebastian. "We don't want the project to become just another bureaucratic program." Marcus carefully studied the government proposal, identifying points that needed negotiation to protect the project's social essence. "We can accept, but with clear conditions," said Marcus. "We want to maintain technical autonomy and priority for underprivileged communities." Negotiations with the government lasted months, but resulted in a satisfactory agreement. The Hope Foundation would keep its independence, receiving financial and logistical support to expand its activities nationwide. "We got the best of both worlds," said William, "resources to grow without losing our identity." The national expansion brought new challenges. Marcus had to travel frequently to oversee the project's implementation in other regions, learning about different social and geographical realities of the country. "Each region has its specificities," Marcus reported after a trip to the Northeast. "We need to adapt our methods without losing the project's essence." Emily developed technical protocols that allowed the project's replication while maintaining the herd's genetic quality. Her work was crucial to ensure the expansion didn't compromise nutritional outcomes. "She's becoming the country's leading expert in this specific area," William said admiringly. During the national expansion, Marcus met thousands of children benefiting from the project. Each personal story motivated him further to continue the work started by his mother and Sebastian. "Seeing the direct impact on these children's lives is the greatest reward we can have," Marcus said in a television interview. The family's story also inspired others to develop social projects in their communities. Marcus received letters from across the country from people motivated by the Hope Foundation's example. "You've proven it's possible to make a difference by starting small and growing responsibly," wrote a rural teacher who had created an organic farming cooperative. In the fourth year after the reunion, Marcus was graduating as a veterinarian with the highest honors in his class. His thesis on genetics applied to social development was published in international scientific journals. "You've honored your family and your project," said the university dean during the graduation ceremony. Emily, now 18 years old, was simultaneously enrolling in genetics and business administration courses, preparing to take on even greater responsibilities in the foundation. "We want the next generation to be even more qualified to carry on the work," said Margaret with maternal pride. Margaret and Sebastian, now in their 50s, began delegating more responsibilities to their children, remaining as advisors and mentors for the project. The time has come for the new generation to take the lead, said Sebastian. They are better prepared than we were to face the challenges of the future. The Hope Foundation had become an international reference for social development projects based on scientific innovation. Marcus received invitations to speak at conferences around the world. Our model proves that science and social consciousness can walk hand in hand, Marcus would say in his international lectures. During one of these trips abroad, Marcus met other young leaders of social projects, creating an international network of cooperation and exchange of experiences. We are creating a global generation of leaders committed to sustainable development, said Marcus at a UN conference on rural development. Hope, now an elderly but still productive cow, had become a national symbol of perseverance and hope. Her image was used in government campaigns promoting social agriculture. She represents the proof that small actions can generate great transformations, said Marcus in a documentary about the family's history. The project's original farm had been transformed into a research and education center, receiving thousands of visitors annually. Marcus liked to personally guide tours for special groups, such as underprivileged children who benefited from the project. Seeing you here reminds me why we started all this, Marcus would tell the visiting children. In the 5th year after the family reunion, the Hope Foundation was present in all U.S. states, serving more than 50,000 underprivileged children. The nutritional results were proven superior, with a significant reduction in child malnutrition in the communities served. We have surpassed our most optimistic expectations, said Margaret in a project evaluation meeting. Marcus, now 22 years old, had fully matured as a leader and professional. His personal experience of abandonment and family reunion had made him especially sensitive to the needs of the children served by the project. Every child we help reminds me of myself when I was little, said Marcus. I know how important it is to have hope, even in the most difficult moments. Emily was completing her university studies and had already developed genetic innovations that further improved the nutritional quality of the milk produced by the special cows. She is surpassing even the project's original results, said Sebastian with admiration for his stepdaughter. The family had found the perfect balance between personal life and professional dedication. The wounds of the past had healed, transforming into motivation to help other families overcome their difficulties. Our suffering was not in vain, said Margaret in an interview. It taught us to value family and to use our skills for the common good. Marcus began thinking about starting his own family, dating a fellow veterinarian he had met during his studies who shared his social ideals. I want my children to grow up in an environment of family love and social commitment, Marcus told Margaret. The prospect of grandchildren filled Margaret with joy. After years of separation and uncertainty, she could finally dream of a future of family and professional continuity. It will be wonderful to see the next generation carrying on our work, said Margaret to Sebastian. The story of the Taylor Mitchell family had become a legend in the region, inspiring books, documentaries, and even a television miniseries. Marcus participated in these productions, always emphasizing the importance of family values and social responsibility. Our story shows that family love can overcome any difficulty, Marcus would say in his media appearances. Hope continued to be the star of the farm visits, even in her old age. Children from all over the country came specifically to meet the cow that had reunited a family and started a national solidarity movement. She's more famous than we are, Marcus joked when he saw the affection people showed for the cow. During the 6th year after the reunion, Marcus got married in a ceremony held at the project's farm. The whole community took part in the celebration, which became a tribute not only to the couple's love, but to the entire family's journey of overcoming. Today we celebrate not just a wedding, but the victory of love over all adversity, said Sebastian during his best man speech. Margaret cried with emotion seeing her son happy and fulfilled. The years of separation and suffering seemed like a distant past in the face of the joy of the present moment. My boy has become an admirable man, Margaret told her friends during the party. Emily, now graduated and working as the Foundation's technical director, was developing her own international expansion projects. Her technical competence and natural leadership qualified her to take on even greater responsibilities. "She will be the next president of the foundation," said Marcus with certainty. The Hope Foundation had become financially self-sustaining, no longer relying on external donations. The ethical profits from the sale of the special milk funded the entire operation and even generated resources for new social projects. "We've proven that it's possible to do good and be economically viable at the same time," said William during a presentation to social investors. Marcus and his wife announced the first pregnancy shortly after the wedding. The news filled the whole family with joy, especially Margaret, who would finally become a grandmother. "This child will grow up knowing all the love a family can offer," said Margaret, moved by the news. The prospect of a new generation in the family brought reflections on the legacy they were building. Marcus wanted his children to grow up understanding the importance of solidarity and social work. "I will tell them our whole story," Marcus said to Margaret. "I want them to understand that we came from hardships, but we always kept hope." The project farm continued to grow and modernize, always maintaining the original principles of environmental and social responsibility. The facilities were a model of sustainability, using renewable energy and conservation practices. "We want to leave a better world for the next generations," Marcus would tell visitors during farm tours. Hope, even at over 8 years old, continued to produce milk of exceptional quality. The foundation's veterinarians cared for her with special affection, recognizing her historical importance to the whole family. "She is our matriarch," Emily said, while personally caring for Hope. "She deserves all the affection we can give." During the 7th year after the reunion, Margaret's first grandchild was born. Marcus and his wife chose the name Sebastian Margaret Taylor, honoring both the stepfather and the maternal grandmother. "It's the symbol of our family's continuity," said Marcus as he introduced the baby to Margaret. The birth of her grandchild marked a new phase for Margaret, who dedicated herself intensely to the child's care while continuing to oversee technical aspects of the foundation. "Being a grandmother is even more special than I imagined," Margaret would say while caring for her grandson. Emily was also preparing to start a family, dating a genetics researcher she had met during an international conference. The young man shared her scientific and social ideals. "I want my children to grow up valuing both science and solidarity," Emily would say. The Hope Foundation received numerous national and international awards for social responsibility and scientific innovation. Marcus represented the organization at these ceremonies, always dedicating the awards to the memory of the family's years of struggle. "These recognitions belong to our entire family and all the people who supported our project," Marcus would say in his award acceptance speeches. The family's story began to be studied in universities as an example of social entrepreneurship and family resilience. Marcus received invitations to teach and lecture in administration and social development courses. "Our experience shows that personal problems can transform into social solutions," Marcus would explain to students. During the 8th year after the reunion, Emily married in a ceremony even larger than Marcus's, as the foundation had become more well-known and had more friends and partners. "Our family is growing and strengthening," Sebastian said during his father of the bride speech. Margaret was radiant, seeing both her children happy and fulfilled. The years of separation seemed like just a distant nightmare compared to the present reality of family unity. "All our struggle was worth it," Margaret told Sebastian during Emily's wedding celebration. The family's second generation was fully taking over leadership of the foundation. Marcus, as executive president, and Emily as scientific director, formed a competent and complementary team. "They're exceeding our expectations," Sebastian told Margaret. "The foundation is in excellent hands." The project had inspired public policies for rural development in several countries. Marcus frequently traveled to advise governments interested in implementing similar programs. "We're exporting not just technical knowledge, but also human values," Marcus would say during these international missions. Hope, now considered elderly for a cow, continued to be pampered by the entire family. She had become a living symbol of perseverance and the importance of small gestures in transforming realities. "She changed our lives," Marcus would say while petting the cow. Without her, I would never have discovered my true family. In the 9th year after the reunion, Emily announced her first pregnancy. Margaret was thrilled at the prospect of having another grandchild to care for and love. "Our family is multiplying," Margaret said, moved by the news. The expectation of the second grandchild's birth brought even more unity to the family. Marcus and Emily planned to raise their children as close cousins, growing up together on the ranch and learning the values of solidarity from an early age. "We want them to have the childhood we couldn't have," Marcus told Emily. The Hope Foundation was present in 15 countries, always respecting local cultures and adapting methods to each region's specific realities. "Our model adapts, but our values remain the same," Emily would explain during an international video conference. Marcus began writing a book telling the entire family story, from their expulsion from home to the creation of the International Foundation. He wanted to document this example of resilience to inspire other people. "Our story can motivate many families going through hard times," explained Marcus the reason for writing the book. During the 10th year after the reunion, Margaret's second granddaughter was born. Emily chose the name Hope Margaret Taylor, honoring both the cow that brought the family together and the grandmother who always fought for family unity. "The circle is complete," said Margaret, upon seeing her little granddaughter named after the special cow. The family had grown to 5 adults and 2 children, but remained united by the same values of love, dedication, and social responsibility that had motivated the creation of the original project. "We are a family, in the fullest sense of the word," Sebastian would say during their Sunday gatherings at the ranch. Hope, now over 10 years old, was finally showing signs of age-related fatigue. The family was emotionally preparing for her departure, knowing she had fulfilled her historic mission of reuniting the family. "She lived a full and meaningful life," said Marcus, stroking the elderly cow. Marcus's book was published and became a national bestseller, inspiring thousands of families and social entrepreneurs. The royalties were donated entirely to the foundation. The book's success shows that people are hungry for real stories of overcoming adversity, Marcus commented during the launch. The Hope Foundation completed 10 years of official operation, having served more than 200,000 underprivileged children in 16 countries. The results in reducing child malnutrition were internationally recognized. "We've surpassed all our original dreams," Margaret said during the Foundation's anniversary ceremony. Marcus, now 27, had become an international reference in social development and purpose-driven entrepreneurship. He received invitations to participate in global forums on poverty and sustainability. "Our boy has become a world leader," Margaret said with infinite pride. Emily, at 24, was considered one of the world's leading experts in genetics applied to social development. Her technical innovations had significantly improved the project's nutritional outcomes. "She's a genius with a social heart," William commented on Emily's abilities. During the 11th year, Hope finally passed away peacefully, sleeping on a sunny spring morning. The whole family gathered for an emotional farewell ceremony. "She fulfilled her mission," said Marcus with tears in his eyes. "She brought us back to each other." A statue of Hope was erected at the ranch entrance, with a plaque that read, "In memory of Hope, the cow that reunited a family and inspired a worldwide solidarity movement." "She will be remembered forever," Margaret said during the statue's unveiling. Hope's memory continued to inspire the Foundation's work. Her story was told to all visiting children as an example of how small creatures can make big differences. "Hope taught us that we must always keep faith, even in the most difficult moments," Marcus would tell visitor groups. In the 12th year after the reunion, the family was completely established and prosperous. Marcus had become a father of 2 children, and Emily had given birth to her second baby. Margaret was a fulfilled grandmother, surrounded by grandchildren and work that transformed lives. "We managed to build the family we always dreamed of," Margaret told Sebastian on a quiet afternoon at the ranch. The Hope Foundation had become self-sufficient and sustainable, operating as a model organization that inspired similar projects around the world. The family's legacy was secured for future generations. "Our work will continue helping children for decades," Marcus said with satisfaction. Marcus finished writing his second book, focusing on the technical and administrative aspects of creating sustainable social projects. The book became an academic reference in business administration and social development courses. "We want to share everything we've learned so others can replicate our results," explained Marcus during the launch of his second book. The story of the Taylor Mitchell family had become an inspiring legend, told in schools, universities, and social organizations as an example that it's possible to overcome any adversity with love, determination, and solidarity. "Our greatest victory wasn't financial or professional," Marcus would say in his lectures. "It was managing to stay united as a family and turning our suffering into an instrument to help others." Margaret, now 55, remained active in the foundation, but had delegated operational responsibilities to her children. She devoted more time to her grandchildren, passing on the family values that had guided her entire life. "I want my grandchildren to grow up knowing family love is the foundation of everything," Margaret would say, while playing with the children. Sebastian, also in his 50s, had become a father figure to Marcus, compensating for the difficult childhood years the young man had faced with Robert. "Sebastian taught me what it means to have a real father," Marcus said gratefully. The relationship between Marcus and Robert remained distant, but there was no longer bitterness. Marcus had learned to forgive and understand that people act according to their limitations and personal wounds. "Holding grudges doesn't help anyone," Marcus would say when asked about his stepfather. "I prefer to focus on the present and future of my family." During the 13th year, the family decided to create a rural university at the ranch, offering technical and higher education courses in areas related to social and sustainable development. "We want to train a new generation of leaders committed to social transformation," Emily explained about the university project. Hope Rural University began operating with 50 scholarship students, underprivileged youth from across the country who showed potential to become social leaders in their communities. "We're investing in the future," Marcus said during the university's inauguration ceremony. Margaret's first grandchildren were growing up at the ranch, surrounded by family love and social awareness. From an early age, they learned about the importance of helping others and valuing family. "They're having the childhood we all deserve to have," Margaret observed with satisfaction. The Hope Foundation continued growing and expanding, always maintaining its original principles of social responsibility and sustainability. It was a globally respected organization that had never lost its family roots. "We managed to grow without losing our essence," Emily said during an annual foundation evaluation. Marcus began being considered for important public positions, including ministries related to social development, but he preferred to continue working directly with the foundation. "My place is here, working with my family for what we believe in," Marcus said when declining political offers. During the 14th year, Margaret received a national tribute for her body of social work. The ceremony was held in the country's capital, with attendance from authorities and international organization representatives. "This honor represents recognition for all who work for a more just world," Margaret said during her acceptance speech. The entire family accompanied Margaret to the ceremony, including the young grandchildren who were fascinated by the event's solemnity. "Grandma Margaret is a real heroine," said the eldest grandson during the trip back to the ranch. The rural university was operating with excellent results, training young leaders who returned to their communities with technical knowledge and social awareness to implement similar projects. "We're multiplying our impact through education," noted William, who had become the university's dean. In the 15th year after the family reunion, Marcus turned 30 as a completely fulfilled person, both personally and professionally. The family had overcome all adversities and become an international example of resilience and solidarity. 15 years ago, I was an abandoned and frightened boy," said Marcus during a special interview commemorating the anniversary of the reunion. "Today, I have a wonderful family and work that transforms lives. It's proof that we should never give up hope." Margaret, at 57, was fully fulfilled seeing her children and grandchildren happy and committed to the values she had always defended. The years of suffering had turned into wisdom and strength to help other families. "Our story proves that love always wins," Margaret would tell the many people who sought her guidance on family problems. Emily, at 26, had become one of the country's most influential women in the field of social development, but remained the affectionate and dedicated daughter she had always been. Family first, work second, was the motto Emily always repeated. Sebastian continued to be the dedicated father and husband, the brilliant scientist and visionary leader who had inspired the entire project from the beginning. His humility and wisdom were recognized by everyone who knew him. "He is the scientific and moral heart of our family," said Marcus about Sebastian. The Hope Foundation had become one of the largest social organizations in the world, present in 22 countries and serving over 500,000 underprivileged children annually. "We've surpassed our boldest dreams," said Eleanor, who continued as one of the foundation's directors. The original ranch remained the spiritual heart of the project, where the family regularly gathered and where the most important decisions were made collectively. "This is our true home," Marcus told his children. "Here began our story of love and overcoming." The Statue of Hope had become a pilgrimage site for families facing difficulties. Thousands of people visited the ranch annually to learn the story and seek inspiration for their own struggles. "Hope continues to help families even after her departure," Margaret observed while watching the visitors' movement at the ranch. During the 15th anniversary celebrations of the reunion, the family took an emotional stock of everything they had achieved together. "We started as a family separated by misunderstanding and fear," said Marcus during the commemorative speech. "Today we are a united family that dedicates its life to uniting other families and caring for children who need hope." Margaret looked around, seeing her children, grandchildren, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, and Sebastian all gathered at the ranch that had become a symbol of love and solidarity. "Every tear, every day of longing, every moment of fear was worth it," Margaret said emotionally, "because it brought us here, to this perfect moment of family love and social fulfillment." The story of the Taylor Mitchell family would continue inspiring future generations, proving that true family love can overcome any obstacle and that dedication to the common good multiplies personal happiness. Marcus looked toward the ranch's horizon, thinking of the frightened boy he had been 15 years earlier, walking in darkness with only a cow as company. Now he was a fulfilled man, surrounded by family and responsible for a project that changed lives around the world. "Thank you, Hope," murmured Marcus, looking at the cow statue, "for teaching me that we must always hold on to hope, no matter how dark the night may seem." And so the family that had been torn apart by misunderstanding and reunited by love continued their journey, proving every day that true bonds are unbreakable and that small gestures of hope can transform the world. End of story. And you, what did you think of Marcus and his family's story? Were you moved by this journey of pain and overcoming? Tell us in the comments which part touched you the most and whether you believe family love can truly overcome any obstacle. Your affection and your words are very important to us. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartfelt stories we've prepared with great care for you.